All right. So, hi, Cass. Nice
Hi,
to
how are you
see you.
doing?
Good.
Nice to see you too.
So, I wanted to just set the scene first of all. So,
Yeah.
you found me on Instagram, and
Yes.
you are 8 months pregnant with your first baby. Yay!
Yay. So excited. Coming so quickly, far quicker than I ever anticipated it coming.
Yeah, of course. So what? So you checked me out on Instagram. You downloaded my first trimester checklist, which isn't necessarily just for the first trimester. I know you're in your third, but
Yes.
there's still time, right? So you did download that, and like,
Yeah.
tell me about it.
So first, I found you through Instagram when a mutual shared a reel of yours. And I believe, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I want to say it was like just like things to remember if you're having a newborn, like take care of yourself, all this stuff that just really resonated with me. I was like, wow, she's right. I do deserve to take care of myself, even though I'm caring for this brand new human being. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna follow her, and then we ended up messaging and thankfully getting to work together. And the first trimester checklist, even though I'm not in my first trimester, it's still great because there's so many habits that you can build, even if you're not right off the bat just found out you're pregnant. I didn't even think about, for example, something in the first trimester checklist was that like the postpartum plan. I always thought everyone's always like, oh, what's your birth plan? What's your birth plan? What's your birth plan? No one ever asked me what I plan to do afterwards. I kind of just planned on like scooping up the baby, taking him home, figuring it out day by day. But yeah, it gave me a lot to think about in terms of like, how do I feel about certain things? What types of techniques am I willing to try or willing to consider? Um, so just a lot of good information no matter what trimester you're at in that.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. So, was it what you expected in a checklist? Like, because I tried to make it like it's not what you think it's going to be, and
Yeah, it,
yeah,
it
because
was
it's not
guided,
like
which I
here's your
liked.
baby registry and here's what kind of nose sucker to buy. It's not that. It's not
No, it's very like self-guided. Like, here is your empowerment to make your own decisions with a little guidance on what to consider. Because that's where I'm at. I hate being told exactly what to do, but I love to know what I should be thinking about because we've talked. I haven't considered half the things. Half of the things. So like the fact that there is your guide and just the guidance of like, this is something you should consider. Have you considered if you're going to combo feed your baby, or how you're going to feed your baby? What interventions are you willing to take if, like, say breastfeeding isn't going so well? What can we do there?
Mhm.
Would you want to keep trying? Would you like to supplement? That kind of stuff. Just things that like you need to think about, but it's not on the top of everyone's mind while pregnant, especially when you're not feeling well.
Yeah, tell me about that.
So, I mean, it is my pregnancy. I am very thankful to have a healthy pregnancy. I've had what most would consider to be a very healthy pregnancy, but I have had the hyperemesis, which is just the throwing up from basically when you find out until you deliver. And that has been tough. That has been something that I wasn't expecting because, so many people are like, oh, it's just for a little while. You can make just, yeah, get to 12 weeks, 14 weeks. And I kept going each week being like, so when's this going to end? And then finally they did tell me, like, hey, this probably won't end for you. But besides that, which thankfully I work with a really great team of midwives, OBs, so I'm getting a little bit more of that holistic care, a little bit more of the traditional medical care, and they have been great on like managing that with natural stuff. I try to get a ton of ginger in my diet. Um, I do a lot of like just like, oh, make sure you eat on a schedule. They don't be afraid of carbs. Like, carbs are your friend when you're not feeling well. And then on top of it, like medications like Zofran, Reglan, just to help regulate, especially during periods where like the first trimester was the roughest. I now have it under control. I have a routine that works for me, so it's not as bad. But during the first trimester, there were days where I had to go get fluids at the hospital because I was like,
Oh, wow.
I don't know what to do. Like, I can't keep down food or drink, but I don't want my baby to suffer from the fact that I can't keep anything down. So it's a juggling act, but it's worth it because you get the best prize at the end of this.
Absolutely. But that does say something for the postpartum planning because you're just trying to get through every day of your pregnancy. And
Yeah.
of course, you're dealing with the day to day, and then you're also thinking about the birth because you've never done that before. So that's a big thing. And
Yep.
yeah, it definitely is something you want to plan for, but it just doesn't like leave time or leave room for thinking about that next step, which quite frankly is like the rest of your life, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot
Literally
longer
has
than
left. Oh my God, no time has been left. Like, it is a consistent flow of me, like, oh, I did that. And then, like, at like the end of my day, like, I have 20 minutes before I'm going to bed. I'm on Google and I'm like, should my baby sleep in a swaddle with arms up or arms down? Like, how does this work? At like 10:30 at night when I'm like, I just need that extra. That's my half an hour of like planning ahead time. And I'm like, that's not enough. It is not enough time to
yeah.
figure it all out before baby's here.
Well, that's why I have this program that I'm going to mentor moms through that time in real time. So you don't have to think about that stuff yet because you don't have the baby yet. And but I would be there in real time with you from like this point in your pregnancy. So we start talking about how you want your postpartum to look, and we do a plan. And then after the baby's here, I'm with you for 3 months. So you can chat with me and say, I don't think this baby likes this swaddle. What do I do? Or, whatever. And you don't have to worry about, Googling it at 10:30 at night. You just ask me and I'm like right there. I'm like in your pocket.
Yeah, I love that. I love having constant support because, like, as much as you always, and we talked about this previously too, you always have a village, but that village is not necessarily up to date. And while that village is giving you the best knowledge they had and the best advice they have, it is not always the most accurate thing given the time and age. Like, as I've said, my grandmother, my mother, and just women in my life who had, they gave birth to their last baby in some of them the 80s, some of them the 90s. Things have changed. Like, my mom, for example, my mom tried to give me, and I, bless her heart, I love her very much. She tried to give me a crib bumper. And I was like, we can't do that. She's like, why? I'm like, that is not safe sleep. And she's like, why? And I'm like, because the baby could suffocate. And she's like, oh, well, you slept with blankets and this. And I'm like, yeah, in like 2000. Like, we didn't know any better, but now we do.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have someone who is in your pocket and like up to date on the information because as much as our village is going to help us, their advice is not always the best advice.
Yeah, I always say, the village is about the support around mom, doing the things that you can't or shouldn't be doing during this time. So the village is doing your laundry, cleaning your toilets, taking your dog out, bringing the meals, excuse me, bringing the meals and then leaving, you know. Um,
Yeah.
the best thing I my first baby, like the best visitor I had was my grandmother who literally came over, just walked in the house, did all the laundry, folded it, put it away, left me this beautiful lasagna, and she was gone. Like that was
She's a little
beautiful.
fairy. She
Yeah,
came in, she did your laundry, she left you a hot lasagna, and then she was
yeah,
out. She was
yeah,
gone.
exactly. And
I'm I'm
that's
very
the
thankful to
village that
have
we
that
need.
already. Oh yeah. No, my sister, she's in nursing school. She is my saint. I mean, don't get me wrong. My mom and grandma and my sister, thank God, all live within a 10-mile radius of me. I am so
Yeah,
thankful to have moved back from Western New York to where I live to be near my family during this time because I don't think I could have done this alone. And my husband is wonderful, but he's a truck driver. He is on the go. He is doing things all the time. So I'm very thankful. And my sister, like I said, in nursing school, she came over during my first trimester. So I didn't have the baby yet. I'm just sick. And she came over, I would say at least once a week and would help me clean my house. I can't sit there, like, not, at least not then, because I didn't have a baby yet. I was just having mornings where I threw up a lot. But my sister would come over and help me clean. She'd be like, "What can I do for you?" I'm like, "Could you just help me do my dishes?" Like, if I get near my sink and even think about the prospect of being in my kitchen, I will vomit. And she was like, "You got it." She would come over and do my dishes every day. She would walk my dogs. And it was so helpful. And she has a little of her own. She has my nephew who is just turned 7. Cannot believe that. Um, and she would bring him in tow. And I'd be sitting on the couch sick or trying to fold laundry on the couch sick. And he'd come over and be like, "Do you need anything? Like, let me help." He used to bring me Pedialyte every time he would come over. He'd bring me a little
Oh,
thing of Pedialyte and be
I
like,
love
"This
it.
will help. It helps when I'm not feeling good." I'm like, "You are so sweet. I can't take this."
So
Um,
that's beautiful because that those people get it. They really get what you need. But
oh
here's the
yeah.
caveat. Once you have this beautiful baby in the house, they're going to want to flock to the baby. And that's when they sometimes can forget about the mom's needs. Because of course they want to come and see the baby. Of course they want to hold the baby. They want to kiss the baby. They want to carry the baby around. And you're lying there like, "Oh my God, please do my dishes," you know. So that's part of the postpartum planning, like, is like the communication of, hey, when you guys come over, here's what I would love if you could, you know, do this, this, and this on these days or whatever,
Yes.
however it works for you, and communicate that beforehand. And, you know, as a treat, as a prize at the end, you get to visit the baby, you know.
Baby.
Yeah, or
Yeah. Oh, and that's
obviously when you want to take a shower or a nap, then by all means hold my baby, but
oh yeah. No, and it's definitely a lot because I that is one thing that, like, obviously my family is great and they all will do it. I just hate asking more of people than I need to. But even this week I had to, like, rally up, talk with my husband and be like, "Okay, our son is going to be born, I mean, hopefully in October," but they said he could come a little early, but I'm going to be beginning of fall. And they basically were like, we were like, it's going to be RSV season, like just the beginning. And then we have flu and cold season, like directly after.
yeah.
And I'm like, we need to politely ask every older person in our family that, like, "Hey, could you make sure you're up to date on your Tdap vaccines? Could you make sure that you're getting your flu shot? Could you make sure if you are eligible, you are getting the RSV vaccine?"
Hmm.
Because, and it's just another one of those things where it's like, I have to set that boundary, but, like, it can be hard almost to ask that of people. And
Yeah.
they'll do it. It's just like to have to ask so much. That is something that, like, no one really prepares you for when you get pregnant. And then, being a first time mom is like, you are going to need to lean on people more than you ever have in your entire life. And
Yep.
I'm one of those people that just, I never liked asking for help. I never felt like I had to. Like, when I wanted a cell phone when I was 15, 16 years old, I got a job. I didn't say, "Mom, like, can I get a cell phone?" I went out and I worked at a Pizza Hut until I was 16 to 18 years old, busted my butt every night, school nights included, so I could pay a cell phone bill and have an iPhone like one of my friends did. So, like, the prospect of being like, "Hi mom, I need you to get these 5 vaccines. I need you to come over and do my dishes, and I really need help with my dogs. And then I also need you to hold the baby while I shower for 50 minutes because
Yeah.
I haven't showered in 2 days." And, like, that's scary for someone like me to
Yeah.
have to ask. But it's nice to have that support and know that so many people, whether it be a coach, guidance, or like your family, people are there to advocate and help you ask for that help that you
Right.
normally wouldn't.
Right. So let me give you a little advice here. Number one, I just wanted to mention with the vaccines, also the shingles
Okay.
vaccine. If you have a baby who's a newborn or like like a NICU baby or a preemie, that's
Mhm.
really important for other people to have because the baby doesn't
Writing that
have
down.
mpox, shot yet. So I know when I volunteered in the NICU, the shingles shot was required for me. Um,
Okay.
so now that would be if you're eligible for the shot, which I think you would be have to over 50 years old or something. But that's just something
Yeah.
I would just add that to the list. And
That is
it's for their benefit too to have these
well, yeah, like
updated vaccines.
you shouldn't have shingles, but thankfully you also won't give my baby shingles.
Exactly, exactly. So it really benefits everyone. And it will be easier if you ask them beforehand because, just let them know, I'm going to be in a pretty vulnerable state. And, I don't want this to be like another layer of strain. Like, I just want to
Yeah.
know that we all are on the same page and this is what's safe.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. We are planning to talk to all family members because thank God I mean, both of our families live, or like immediate families live right here. So
Mhm.
we really are going to like round up everyone this week and be like, hey,
Yeah.
we need everyone to get vaccines because my baby shower is in 2 weeks. So that's when we'll have everyone together and we can be like, hi, if you want to see the baby after, please get your vaccinations.
And
Which is a
then
good
too,
time to
like
do it.
when the time comes and they're maybe haven't done it yet, you can just there's polite ways to say, well, you know, the baby's still going to be here next week. He's going to be here for a long time. They don't need to meet him immediately. I mean, obviously your mom,
Yeah.
of course, but I'm talking about a little bit more extended family and extended friends. You know, that's okay. Just let me know when you've got them all, and then we'll
Yeah.
set up a time for you to come over. So you just kind of put it off, and that's a gentle way to let them know, no, I really mean this.
Yeah, I'm
I
still
really,
staying firm on that boundary, but like I can be flexible if you can't do it immediately. That's okay, but my boundary is still firm, which
yeah.
is like exactly how I have to be because like again, the season it's hard cuz I'm literally like we're planning to be like, "Hey, everyone please have your flu shot. We want to come to Christmas. Like we'd love to come to
Hmm.
Christmas dinner.
Hmm.
But if you don't have your flu shot, my baby will be born and I don't want you near him. And
Yeah.
it is nothing against you. It is that I cannot stand the thought of this 8 week old tiny little human who has this is his first time being alive, being a person. I don't want him to spend a minute in intensive care or anything like that because I let someone who was carrying flu germs to
Hmm.
kiss him or to touch him or to hold him. So like I definitely know how firm I need to be in that boundary. But it's hard with holidays coming up too. That's I talked to
Hmm.
my midwives about that. I was gonna talk to you about that. Like I kind of just plan I'm just gonna baby wear for like pretty
Absolutely.
much all the holidays. Because if he's
Awesome.
on me, no one's gonna just like take him away.
That is the
Like
secret of the century. Yes, that's what I tell everyone, especially when you're going out somewhere and you don't want your baby passed around. It's much less likely that you're wearing this baby and they can come and look, and take a peek, but like it's unlikely that they're gonna, want to pull him away from you or be like,
oh, especially if he's snuggly and even
yeah,
sleeping. Because I know I got like the wrap carriers that like tight wrap. I
lovely.
was like, no one's gonna want to take the sleeping baby off of mom's
Mhm.
chest at
Mhm.
Thanksgiving. If I
Mhm.
so like that was my plan. So I'm like that way, and it's not that I don't want people to hold him or love him. It's just that is such a vulnerable time to have a baby because
Yeah,
the germs are just so prominent.
right. So speaking of that, are you planning on breastfeeding?
Yes.
Okay. So have a little bit of comfort in the fact that your immune system is really gonna, you know,
That's what I've been told. And I was
that's
like,
the
okay,
theory. Like it's gonna be all in him, and that is a super super layer of protection.
okay.
Yeah,
Because I was like, that does make me feel better. Because
absolutely.
I was so freaked out. Like, what if it doesn't work out? Because I know a lot of people who have tried breastfeeding and it just doesn't work out. So I'm like,
Yeah.
trying to find some middle ground as to like I want to breastfeed, and then also not overhyping my expectations to be like I have to breastfeed, because I
Yeah.
know that there are issues and things that just, like I am not fully in control of.
Right.
And that, sometimes it might not work out where I can exclusively breastfeed.
Mhm.
But my course of action is I'd love to exclusively breastfeed if possible, with a little pumping, just because I do want my husband to be able to offer a bottle, or
Yeah.
if I need to go out or I have an appointment or something where I cannot bring baby, I want to make sure my mom, my sister can offer a bottle. Um, but I'm also like telling myself it's totally okay if, like, say my supply isn't as great as I'd want or his latch isn't as great as I'd want. I'm okay with supplementing formula, but I don't want to give up
Mhm.
on breastfeeding,
Yeah.
which is what I know some people do. And if that, like, for some people, I get it. Mentally, I've
Mhm.
heard it's a lot. And
Mhm.
for some people, formula feeding is the right option. For me, I'm trying to tell myself it's okay if it's not perfect, but don't give up on it immediately if it doesn't go correctly.
Right, for sure. So that's another one of the things that I go through. Uh, I touch on it a little bit in the checklist, if you remember. The
Yes.
whole breastfeeding like mindset of like, am I going to do this, or yeah, I think I'm going to try, and like that kind of attitude doesn't always work out. Like you have to know what
Yeah.
you want. Like if you want to try and if it doesn't work, fine, okay. But if you like myself, I 100% wanted to exclusively breastfeed, period. And I couldn't make it happen with the first one. And it was so devastating. Everything went wrong. I had every problem in the book and finally was just like in the ER for the second time. And they were like, you cannot breastfeed anymore, period. And so it was so aggravating because I had no choice. I had no control, but I didn't have the help that I needed. Is That's really the whole thing. Is that
Yeah.
I didn't have lactation consultant. I mean, I talked to one on the phone once, so that was about it. But it wasn't like it is today. Too. Of course, it was in the '90s, so it
So
was
it's
like you
different.
had
And that's,
to get the help.
yeah,
But so again, that's something that excuse me.
no worries.
That's something that I take you through with you right from the beginning. And even when you're in the hospital, still, that's like such an important time to get off on the right track or off the track. I mean, it could be either way.
Yeah.
So there's so many things that can come up that if I'm there with you, talking you through it, giving you ideas, it's
Oh,
just
yeah. Because we also talked about this. Because I was like, I
mm,
don't actually know what to expect in terms of like breastfeeding support in the hospital. And I actually wasn't like fully under the impression that it's like you give birth and then like within an hour, someone could be in there telling you, oh, like we need it. Here's all your notes, like breastfeeding 101, directly after this. And I'm not saying traumatic in terms of like mentally traumatic, but just like physically traumatic. Your body has just gone through an event, a medical event. And then you're about to come in and give me everything I need to know about how to feed my baby. I'm not going to remember that
mm-mm,
at all. I know that
mm-mm.
for a fact. I'm like trying to prep my husband to like voice record when the lactation consultant's there just so I can like go back and reference, because that is. And then I also checked, because I didn't know this either, like just things I didn't know that I found out this week. I called my insurance and like you're covered for like 48 hours if you give birth vaginally. I was like, oh, so now I'm on a clock to give birth, learn how to breastfeed, and learn like the basics of infant care in this 48-hour period in the hospital. And then they just send me home with this brand new
Yeah.
human being.
Oh my gosh, that is it. You said it in a nutshell. We all have gone through that. Where like give birth, all of a sudden everybody leaves the room. There's no doctors, nurses, everybody's gone. You're just there with your husband and this baby, and you're like, what do we do now? Like, what do we do? And then they just send you home. There's no test. There's no exam. There's just
They
like
like make sure your car seat is correct and that that's installed. And then they're like,
Okay,
Bye. And
you
you're
can
like,
get
all
home
right.
safely, and that's it. Yeah.
No,
So
literally, I saw a girl who just made a TikTok about this. She was like, I just gave birth and I went to go take a shower, like a 50-minute, your first postpartum shower. She said
mm,
it was magical. She
yeah.
goes, I told my husband, hey, could you just watch the baby? She comes out 15 minutes later. He's staring over the bassinet, just watching the baby. And she's like, what are you doing? He's like, you said watch the baby. Like, it's funny that it's like a universal experience that like none of us know. You're like, if I told my husband to watch the baby, he literally would do the same thing. He'd sit on the edge of the bed like making sure he's okay. And I'm like, yeah, it's just this experience where like you don't have that foundational knowledge, and then you're expected to pick it up. And I'm sure obviously nature, you will just get the hang of it,
Yes. Yeah.
naturally. But to expect all of that education to come in 48 hours,
Yeah.
in my opinion, is unrealistic.
It's not possible, and that's why you need the real time support, because they can't possibly cover everything. And even
No.
if you take like a newborn care basics class, right? You're not going to remember most of this stuff. You're going to be in a brain fog. Like, you need to be able to call me, your mama mentor, and say, okay, I need to take a shower. What do I do? Like, you could
Yeah,
literally ask me that.
like you need that in the moment because there's so
Yeah,
many things that I haven't even thought of. I mean, clearly I'm still pre-birth, but like things that I just don't even think about now until they happen.
of course. Yeah.
I mean, like for example, my biggest shock, I think I was early. I was like 17 to 20 weeks, that span, when I started lactating. And I was like, is this normal? It was a Saturday. I'm like, I can't call my midwife. The office isn't open. I'm like, I don't know if these are supposed to be doing that. Like, I don't know. So I called my girlfriend who had a baby about a year ago, and I was like, "Did this happen to you?" She's like, "No, but I think it's normal." I was like, "Okay," and I was just like, kind of hoping it was fine. And then obviously my midwife called me back as soon as the office opened on Monday. Was like, "Yes, you were literally fine." I was like, "Okay," but like just stuff like that, like in the moment,
Yeah.
I had no
You
idea,
want
and
an answer in
I
the
didn't
moment, for
yeah,
sure.
I didn't even think that was a possibility.
Yeah.
It didn't pop into my head until I was like, so why am I leaking? Like,
Yeah.
is
And
this
it's
normal? So
probably
like,
it's in a book somewhere that you have on a shelf, but I mean, did
am I
you
gonna
read the book
flip?
and read or look for it, you know? Yeah.
The only book I read is my mom got me one book, and it was like first trimester meals to try if you have severe morning sickness.
All
That
right.
book was my cover to cover cookbook for about a month.
Ah,
But besides that, no, I flipped through the baby books, but they're thick. They're like 500 pages. So I'm not about to flip through. Well, I'm like, also, this happened while I was not at home, not in access to a book. And then when you Google it, you get 50 different opinions from 50
mhm.
different people on 50
Yes.
different places on the internet, most of which are forums, which I'm not saying aren't reliable for information, but you have to like go into that like Reddit and those mom and baby forums with this was their personal experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing that was fine or normal for someone else, for someone else could be not the norm, not
Mhm.
okay. So like it was just like I need someone to ask that like knows this, that like can say definitively, yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
And like I
You
said,
need
it's nice to have
confidence.
midwives and that more naturalistic care, but like you can't, unless it's like a true emergency, you can't access them always. And I'm not gonna call because like
Yeah.
clearly it's not. I'm not in pain. I'm not bleeding. I'm not dying. I'm not gonna call my midwife's emergency line and be like, "Oh my god, my nipples are leaking." Like,
But
so
you
like
can
that's.
call me and say that.
But you can call someone like you and be like, "Hi, is this okay?" So that you're not sitting up at night thinking, "Oh my god, should this be happening? Should I
Yeah.
feel this way?" I girl, you're about to get so many texts from me. Getting closer to birth, I have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea what I should be feeling. And I'm like, constantly at night, I'm like, how do I know? Like, how do I know if I'm going into labor?
Yeah.
Besides, like, the obvious sign, because some of those aren't always
they're not always
Textbook.
obvious. Yeah. I mean, I went from nothing to like active labor. Like, that's the only way I can put it. Like now I know what that was. I was just like, I was in labor for probably 24 hours, but to me, it was just like the same Braxton Hicks contractions I had been having for a month. So I didn't know it was actually labor. I was like, yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of these Braxton Hicks going on, you know. But
Well, and that's what
yeah,
I'm
before
scared
when it
of
hit,
because I mean, I thank God I'm not having them too frequently, but I've been having them. Like, I've been really trying to not limit my activity. I still try to walk every day and do everything. But like, for example, we used to go and do one big grocery store haul. We go and walk around Walmart, Hannaford, whatever store we were at for like hour and a half, 2 hours,
mhm,
getting every little thing we needed for like 2 or 3 weeks straight. I was starting to get Braxton Hicks so bad. We're like, we gotta go like once
yeah,
a week because I like can't do that. I can't do the walk across the parking lot and then the hour in the store without feeling these. And I'm just like, what if I just think it's normal? I'm like, oh, the Braxton Hick, and then like, because my mom was like that too. Just what you mentioned, like she had been in labor and didn't really know it until it was time.
yeah, that happens.
And thankfully, thankfully, our hospital is very close to our house. But like in my mom's case, and I don't know about your case, like back in the day, around here anyway, because I live in the Capital District, so we live north of Saratoga. The best hospital and pretty much the only place you did want to deliver babies was in Albany. That's 40 minutes at least,
Oh my.
if not longer. Like my mom, when she gave birth to my brother, who he turned 17 yesterday, so but I think I remember going to my grandma's, my mom calling her. We went to my grandma, who thank God lives around the corner. And my mom gave birth like an hour later. She got to the hospital, had about 20 minutes, and he was here. And the fact that like that was the norm, I was like, I'm so glad I'm delivering 10 minutes from my house because I could not deal with that level of stress.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
just, but yeah, that's the big question is like, will I know? And everyone just says you'll know, and I'm sure I will.
my gosh.
But it's one of those things where it's like, I wish I had someone I could text and just be like, because I will be texting you, probably being like, hey, this feels like probably a little abnormal. Like this might be the beginning of something.
I remember exactly when it was for me because with my first, I was like, yeah, it really feels like something, but I don't know. I called one of my friends and I was like, I think I might be in labor, but I'm not. And then the big contraction hit, like the first big major contraction while I was on the phone with her. And she was like, well, based on what I just heard, you need to go to the hospital now. Well, you're in active labor. I'm like, oh, okay. So
Oh
yeah,
my God.
yeah.
No, and
Yeah.
it's like, my midwives gave me a little sheet and we put it on the fridge. And my husband reads it and he's like, what do they mean you're having contractions every 2 to 5 minutes for at least 2 hours? And I'm like, we have to time them. And he's like, how do we do that? I'm like, I tell you when it's, or you hear, you see me in pain.
Yeah.
We put on a timer. And then when I feel a little less pain, we turn
Yeah.
off the timer. He's like, okay.
You
It's
can actually
funny.
feel it too around you put your hands on and you feel the tightening too. So he could even feel
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Because I was going to say, I feel it when I have Braxton Hicks, but I've never been like, hey, come here, like feel my stomach. Because again, I'm like always out when it happens. Like right now, if I'm at home hydrated and relaxed,
Mhm.
not a problem. But if I'm like walking or like actively out doing something, of course I'm like, gotta pause in the Walmart
Yeah.
for
Your body's like
five
revving
minutes.
you up, getting you ready for the big
Yeah.
the
Oh
big
yeah. Oh yeah. But I'm actually glad it's happening because I'd rather have them and
Mhm.
have a sense of like what
Yeah,
to expect than to not have it at all
of
and
course.
just
Yeah.
be blindly guessing.
Well, we should probably wrap this up. It's been really great
Yes.
talking to you, and we have a lot more to talk about. I know, so we're going to do this
Yes.
again soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, but in between, please message me and we'll talk.
Yeah.
Any questions you have, and
Yeah. All right. Sounds good.
thank
All
you
right.
so much. I'll talk to you soon, Cass.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.